Got to be with us. Joining us now from Swing Left, Adrienne Lever. Adrienne, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's lever like the soap, unfortunately not related.
Lever like the soap. But see, I think, just for the next week, you should say lever. Because,
Lever,
yeah.
just because I'm a lever to change. Okay,
Well, and normally people, well, I don't know, people don't pull levers anymore, but at least that connotes voting, the voting lever. So.
that's true. That's true. I think you and I are both a little bit too old because I don't think any of the millennials know about the levers
Know
to
about the
voting.
lever, yeah, maybe not. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We're just 4 days now from GOTV. Get out the vote this weekend, and we're riled up to go.
So, talk to us about how things are looking from Swing Left's point of view.
Yeah, well, I mean, things are looking good, but that is never something I like to say too loud because we cannot get complacent. We have a lot of work to do. So for those on the air, your listeners who do not know what we are, Swing Left is a national grassroots organization, and we are working to take back the House for Democrats in this 2018 election on November 6th. We're doing that by recruiting and training hundreds of thousands of volunteers to get out the vote for Democratic candidates in nearly 84 swing districts across the country that we are focused on. And we are also raising funds from grassroots donors and trying to build a cultural moment around this election so that it rises to the level of energy that we generally only see in presidentials, because we know that these congressional races across the country this year are just as important as the presidential. So we have a lot of work to do.
So now, 84 districts you all are targeting, but now, are all of them still competitive, or can we say that we've narrowed down the key ones that we know need to be won to win back the House?
What's amazing about this year is we've actually added districts. So when Swing Left first launched in January in the wake of the 2016 presidential election, we had 65 districts on our target map.
Right.
And we now have 84. And that is, you may think that sounds bad, but more is actually good. It means that races are more competitive, that Democrats have a shot in districts that for many, many election cycles have only gone Republican, that we have the opportunity to flip seats that we've never had before. And that is because there's a wave of volunteer energy across the country that is focused on making sure we flip these seats. So we're really excited about making sure that we drive the energy into these races so that they become more competitive than they have been in the past.
So 23 are necessary to flip. Are you
That's
saying
right.
that Democrats may actually flip more than 23?
I absolutely hope so. I believe that is the case, and we're seeing that because of the energy that the volunteers are putting into these races. So many of these congressional elections come down to very small margins. We end up winning or losing these seats by just a few hundred, a few thousand votes in many of
Right.
these districts, and that's often because we don't see the kind of level of turnout that we get in presidential cycles. We're hoping to change that this year, but we also know that they are still going to remain competitive, and especially when you have an election that is that tight, the way that you win these seats is by going out and talking to voters, having face-to-face conversations. Study after study shows us that the most effective way that we can encourage voter turnout in November, the most effective way that we can increase participation in elections like these, is by going out and having face-to-face conversations. So we are training and mobilizing volunteers so they can do that, so that we can win these seats on the margin. But they're going to be close. And if anyone doubts that, they should think back on November of 2016, when we all went into election night thinking it was going to go one way and came out the other end realizing that wasn't the way that it went. And so we can't get complacent. As I said before, there's still a lot of work to do, and I would never walk into Election Day saying that this thing is in the bag, because it's far from it.
So, folks, Adrienne Lever is the campaign director at Swing Left, but we're calling her Lever just for the week for those of us old enough to remember what the lever was in the voting booth. And then we'll go back to calling her
Right.
Lever. We'll go back to calling her Lever after that. So, This is the last weekend. This is GOTV weekend. Tell us what Swing Left is doing, and how you're mobilizing and mechanizing this GOTV.
Yeah, well, I think the most exciting thing that's happening this year is that you're seeing groups across the country work together in unison, because this is a team effort. We cannot do this alone. So in July, Swing Left launched a coalition we are now at over 60 other partner organizations that have come together to support our campaign called The Last Weekend.
Okay.
And The Last Weekend is all about this coming weekend. The last weekend is this weekend, which is an exciting thing to be able to say this week. And it is about getting volunteers out to the doors the final 4 days of the election, because, as I said, the final 4 days are the most critical. And that's because campaigns across the country will spend months going out and talking to voters and having conversations and trying to figure out who their supporters are, who's on the fence, make sure that they have all the information that they need and they know about these critical elections. But then everything comes down to the last 4 days, during which we need to make sure that all those supporters we have actually turn out to the polls.
Yeah.
So we had set a goal when we launched this campaign of having 1 million volunteer hours committed to the final weekend, which is a lot. But we already hit today 680,000 hours.
Wow.
So we are on pace to hit this goal. Over 100,000 volunteers across the country that are committed to go out and do the meaningful work of actually talking to voters and in their swing districts, and recognizing this isn't scary, that going up to voters and having these conversations, it's just like talking to a neighbor over a fence, and that it's the most important thing that they can be doing. We're spreading the message this year that it's not just enough to vote. You have to volunteer. If you're angry, if you're
That's a good point.
frustrated, it's not enough to march, it's not enough to tweet, it's not enough to vote. We need to go out and make sure that we break out of these silos that we are often in and get the message out to the people who really need to hear from us.
And now is the time to definitely come out of those silos, especially after the events of the past week, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you're not feeling the impact of these elections this year, I don't know what rock you're under, because this has been not just a difficult week. It's been a difficult few weeks, couple of months. The news cycles have just been increasingly challenging to bear, and I think for me personally, what keeps me going is that you channel that anxiety into action. That the most impactful thing to keep my mind focused on the end goal is to go out and have these conversations. Canvassing is fun. It is exciting. You meet new people. You have inspiring conversations, and
people are concerned about net neutrality,
climate change, health insurance.
We need
one of the
ethics
great
reform,
features
and we need
of
campaign
Swing
finance
Left,
reform.
folks, if you
It's
go on the
important for us to
website,
be that
is
voice
that it will
for
help you
so many
to
women who
find
just
great
feel
tool
like
they
they don't
have.
have a
The
voice.
swing
We have
district
always
closest
worked
to
to represent
you,
those
right, Adrienne?
that are most vulnerable in our communities.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is really what it's all about.
I'm truly concerned about how much damage can be done to our country.
You put in your zip code and you find the closest competitive race near you. We became a movement because we had
this election is really all going to be about who shows up.
Future generations are going to look back and see how we collectively
now
acted.
We're part of this campaign, getting out and doing this important work in swing districts. But we are still back. We hope focus back on that core goal that we launched with, which is to make things easy for you. And so when you go to Swing Left, or when you go to thelastweekend.org, you can put in your zip code, commit to show up this final weekend, and you'll get, not only will you find the closest swing district, but we'll also recommend the most impactful place for you to work this weekend, the most critical race, and the most impactful activities.
Okay.
So we're here to make sure that everything is easy and that you use your time effectively, because we know how hard it is to find time to go out and volunteer. But as I like to say, brunch can wait. We have lots of weekend plans, but this weekend you should be out knocking on doors. We got to be out there doing the work, and so we're hoping everyone, go out to lastweekend.org to find your closest district. And I think the other thing that's really exciting that many people don't know is that there are swing districts near us in our own backyard.
That's right.
If you focus mostly on presidential races, you think that if you're a Democrat, the way that you make a difference is by going to Ohio or Nevada, Pennsylvania, one of these typical swing states. But that's just not true for congressional elections. As a New Yorker myself, I've got a bunch of critical swing districts just in my own backyard. Staten Island, New York 11 is a swing district. New Jersey 7 is a swing district right across in New Jersey from Manhattan, and the same applies to cities, blue urban centers all over the country. We've got these close races that we don't even really think about usually, and they're within driving distance. So this is really an attainable action that we can all take to make sure that we win these seats in November.
Folks, that's the lastweekend.org. This is how you can get involved. Please, ma'am, please, sir. And I love these T-shirts. Text and call and knock and vote and win. I need to get me one of those shirts too, Adrienne. I love those. Those shirts are great. But folks, the lastweekend.org. This is it. Text and call and knock and vote and win. I love what you said too. I'm going to borrow that. Brunch can wait. All right. Yeah, you folk love brunching. That's the new thing now. Brunching. Hey, brunching ain't going nowhere. We can brunch next weekend. And matter of fact, it'll be more fun. Brunch after this weekend when we have won. That's going to be the best brunch of all.
Something to celebrate. Then you can brunch over a mimosa if you want, but you got to wait until after the election.
That's right. That's right. And if you have to go to brunch for the purpose of telling everybody in brunch that they need to get out to vote and recruit some of them to help you. Go to brunch. Say, okay, y'all, hurry up and finish eating because we're going out to knock on doors to work off this brunch we just ate. All right?
That's right. There's no better exercise than walking around a neighborhood and talking to some voters.
Right, especially after you ate all that food. So
exactly.
This is it, y'all. Well, this is great. TheLastWeekend.org. Adrienne, appreciate you and Swing Left's work. SwingLeft.org, TheLastWeekend.org. Adrienne is right. And which we really preaching to a choir on this channel that knows the importance of voting. I don't think anybody's listening doesn't know the importance of voting. Adrienne's right. There are districts in our own backyard that we can't overlook. Everybody can't go to the same place. I was talking to somebody the other day at NBC. We were talking about where you going? Where's everybody going? And I told them about some districts they didn't know about. I said, you all need to go down there. Everybody can't be. And I love Stacey. I may be with Stacey on Tuesday. But everybody doesn't need to go there. You don't have to go to Georgia. You can go right in your own backyard. I'm going to tell you something else, too. And Congresswoman Gwen Moore said this on the show last month, Adrienne. Not only are there swing districts in your backyard, there are people who are not voting living under the same roof as you that you don't realize. And you take for granted, and then folks get, I had to go to work. I didn't get off work in time. Everybody make sure. Gwen told the story, Adrienne, about a pair of twins she knew. And one of the twins voted, but the other one didn't get to. Just ran out of time. How does a pair of twins? It's twins. So you know if one of them can't get it, then somebody living with you or down the street, somebody close to you. So in your backyard are swing districts, in your house and in your family are folk who are not getting out there to vote. So, folk, this is the only conversation we need to be having. We don't need to be talking about nothing else. World Series is over. There's nothing else to talk about. Don't want to talk about the World Series. The Red Sox won anyway. That's no good. That's not a legitimate World Series. Fake World Series. So we need to be discussing folks getting out to vote. And you can volunteer. Let's not be in the abstract either. Sign up at thelastweekend.org. Adrienne, normally lever, now lever, we thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to all the volunteers out there who are going to do the work.
Amen. Good luck to you, and thanks to you all for all your help and leadership, okay?
Absolutely. We'll see you in the victory party.
Amen. Take care, Adrienne. All right, folks, that's it for us. If all minds are clear, John, Danny, Derek, Darryl, John, two John. Sorry I didn't get to you. If all minds are clear, Stephanie Miller, Zolina Maxwell, and Jess McIntosh, Tom Hartman, Michelangelo Signorelli, Dean Obadella. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain. Don't go and talk about my father.